Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Cecil.
Hello.
Say hi, Cecil. Hi, KK. KK, cute bird. Cute little bird. Sugar. Sugary bird. Sugar bird.
The Shuk.
The Pip Pip. The Pippa. The Zuntite. Jasmine's way in the back sleeping.
I can see her.
Yeah, she figured it out early that, oh, he's going to do one of those. I'm going to go sleep. Snowball's taking a nap. And so is Lucy.
So it's nap time for everyone.
Pippa, are you awake? Yeah, she's
Pippa
going to
looks
preen.
quite awake.
He's going to preen. He's sort of here, aren't you? He was a little miffed at me for not petting him when he jumped up on my arm, but he seems to be okay now. I'm supposed to pet you? Are you supposed to use your feet and touch me if you want me to pet you?
So our first chatter arrived. It's Patia Shah. Hello and welcome. He's
Hello.
praising basically every bird. And he said, Cecil, you're beautiful.
You are a handsome bird, aren't you, Cecil?
And I think Cecil likes to hear that.
KK. KK bird.
Has he got some wood down there?
Oh, he's got pieces of wood. Right now, I don't know what he's chewing. I think he's chewing on the canvas.
He's not delving in your pocket, is he?
No, I hope not. Oh, I haven't zipped that pocket up either. And if I don't zip it up, he's liable to he's been sticking his head in my pocket. I have no idea why, but he's been doing that lately.
Okay. Hi, cutie.
He and Jasmine are the two birds that they're not morning birds. You know? Don't bother me. I just woke up. But he was a little more active this morning. Weren't you? Hmm? Weren't you, big boy? Nope. Sorry, Cecil. Didn't mean to whack you in the head.
Yeah, you made him jump.
Didn't mean to whack you in the head.
Oh my goodness. Well, we've got some more chatters. We've got Spirit Matter and German Jamie and Jocelyn Triggle. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you.
Hello. Hello, all.
And Spirit Matter says she wants Don's job. It's a lot of fun, but hard work, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot more difficult than it seems. Most people could not sit in a room like this with a bunch of cockatoos. Even these cockatoos, you put somebody else on this couch and see what happens. But because they know what to expect from me, so and the same here. I know what to expect from them. So
You mean to suggest that these perfect angels might misbehave? Surely not.
doesn't seem likely, does it? Although you should have seen Cause. I brought her in here, and that was, oh boy, it was just wings and beaks, and she went after Cecil of all birds, and she's fine in the aviary now, but she's not acceptable in here.
And poor Cecil was on the receiving end again, was he?
Oh, the
Does she
look on
like to
Z's.
attack them? She loves it somehow.
He doesn't understand it. He doesn't get it. He doesn't know why she goes after him. So
Poor Cecil. You didn't do anything wrong.
yeah, he was completely just aghast at the whole thing. He was trying to get away from her. I had to use my hands like I'm trying to think, kind of like a plow, and push them both apart, and then grab Cause while she's nothing but wings and claws and beak, and drag her out.
And it's the berserker. The
So
crazy
she gets to
cause.
come. She's back to the normal routine when we start to get hot weather, which is she comes out and hangs out with me while I'm cooking, while I'm making toys, and she doesn't get to be out with anybody else.
Well, I think she likes hanging out with you.
She does, but she likes being out in the aviary too. It's just if I were a rich man, I'd have that, where we could close it up in the summer with plexiglass or glass windows or something in there and air conditioning so that they could be outside too. But
That would be nice.
it would. But we're happy for what we've got, aren't we, Cecil? He says, I don't know. I want everything. Cecil wants it all. What about you, Sugar?
And Falcon Sue is here as well. I don't know if we greeted Falcon Sue, but we'll do that now. So hello.
Hello,
Hello.
Falcon Sue. Lucy woke up. So we have 4 awake now. Although you can't tell with KK. Cecil's down here. They're bonding and becoming Cecil.
They're merging. They look like one of those Chinese pictures of the two fish. You know, where one's pointing one way, the other's pointing the other way, and they form a circle.
The symbol for Pisces. Yeah, pretty much. I don't know these guys, but umbrellas are like that. They congregate, but I've never seen that happen with Moluccans, and I don't think I ever will. I probably would have a heart attack if I saw them congregating like that. They are an advertisement for social distancing, is what they are. But, and poor Mander, I brought him in here, but I screwed up. I brought him in towards the end, and it didn't work. You got to get him in early so that he can get a spot and kind of hide there. And when you bring him in and the other birds see him come in, it's not good. All they have to do is take one step towards him, and he's like, "Oh, the end of the world!"
Poor thing.
So they ran up to me and begged to go out. I put him back in his cage. He'll come out with Lorelei later. Lorelei has to come out by herself too. Actually, she would be fine. I've got her where she's okay with all the other birds. She just can't be around Cecil. So one day I'll get Cecil in this group, and then the next the next day I'm going to switch it to where it's Lorelei in here with the group, and then just go back and forth like that. And they just come out at different times. He will not leave her alone if she's in the room. Neither will. Well, Snowball will, but he'll leave her alone, but only if the rest of the birds are in here. So I either have to take her right out, or I have to take him out first.
Yeah. Otherwise, he'll get fixated.
Well, the problem with him is that he has made aggression now after being with Chloe. So that seems to be what happens if you let him get too close. Well, you can't always do anything about it. Chloe was withering away. I wouldn't let them even play together. So I would let them play together, supervised, but I would have probably done better to put them in separate rooms or something.
Yeah.
But hindsight is always better than foresight.
Yep.
And the way I am, I tend to remember my mistakes before I remember my successes. So You're a success, aren't you? Yeah.
You're a good boy, Cecil.
If there's something I've done wrong, I remember it. Well, it helps when I'm working with them because I remember what I've done wrong. I won't do it again. That's the idea. But
Like, when you've
my
got 12 of them, it's easy to make mistakes.
yeah, my third wife put it best. She said, I see the glass as half empty, containing poison and cracked. So, but sometimes, no matter how much you take care, like with Coco, I mean, she had that little tiny wound on her foot. Took care of it, no problem. Then she opened it up in the middle of the night, and then 2 days later, she was gone.
Yeah, some things you just can't plan for, can you?
Little wounds like that I've seen time and time again. I always recommend you go to an avian vet, but it was such a minor wound, you can't even imagine she'd go after it. And I put super clot on it, which just that little tiny spot, but she's on Haldol, and when the Haldol worn off, that was the first thing she went for.
Yeah, poor little girl.
So now I know if you have any minor injuries and they're on Haldol, you give them a dose before they go to sleep, extra dose. But what a way to learn that. I don't like learning things that way. So.
No. And if it's sugar, then you just give her a dose every hour. That might do. Well, not literally every hour, but feels that way with her.
She is quite the girl, that one. She has an attitude. She wants to come in here. She flaps her wings, and she pushes her like she's trying to pull me into the room. And then when we go to leave, she does the same thing. Not every time. Sometimes she'll sit there like, I'm staying. It's like, but there's nobody in here. You're the last one. I'm staying. She'll do that sometimes. But.
Do you think on SDAM Island they all sit, each member of the flock sits on his or her own tree, rather than having the whole flock sit on the tree spread out among the branches? Instead, they all get their own one.
I would like the answer. I'd like the answer to that, but I think that might be what they do. Somebody might at the Indonesian Parrot Project might have the answer to that. Barbara Bailey might be able to answer that one because she's been there on the Isle of Serum. So we'll have to ask Barbara and get the answer to that one. Note it down somewhere. We'll ask
Because that
Barbara.
would be pretty funny, just seeing a flock of Moluccan cockatoos, but each one on its own tree.
Well, that's the thing too. There are no more flocks. There are small groups, but as far as these hundreds of birds, they don't have them anymore. They're in small groups, not really a flock anymore. Where there's still literally hundreds of umbrellas that fly around together. There just aren't that with them. And I think that might have a little bit to do with the way that they act, the type of bird that they are, because they tend to be more isolated. They're of all the cockatoos I've known, they're the ones that dolphins and all the other varieties of cockatoos. These guys tend to be more standoffish. Not all the time. Jasmine comes up and rams into you wanting to be petted. Sugar likes to have her beak petted, but they don't stand next to each other terribly often. But probably. Hi, Cecil. So this is an Ask Me Anything video. So, got any questions? Shoot. Shoot. Right. Right. Otherwise, I'll just chatter about what's going on. Huh? This one's been a little bit crazy in his cage lately. He's in a great California cage. Of course, California cage doesn't exist anymore, but He's in one of those cages because that's the only one that's got speed welds. Other than Lucy's is speed welded, but he's been tearing the paper out from underneath it and making a huge mess all the time. He's not playing as much with his toys as he used to. He's just ripping up paper, which is nesting, right? He's nesting all the time, so. Amanda, his cage, after I had some people come over and help clean, wonderful people come and help clean, and I put his grate, there's two places you can put the grate. One's higher and one's lower. I put it in the lower spot, so he grabbed a hold of his paper and made a huge mess. So now I put it back up in the higher spot so he can't reach it. They got those go-go gadget legs, they can reach anything.
Oh, you mean when you think like you have put it far enough from the cage and suddenly their feet or their legs are 3 times as long as you thought they are.
Yep, Cecil just did that with a curtain in the living room. So I had to staple it in place so he can't possibly get to it because he was chewing on the curtain. Weren't you?
So we have the first questions dropping in. The first one is from Jam and Jamie, who would like to know who's the most sociable in the flock.
When you're here, if you're at the sanctuary, that would be Cecil. As you can see, what's more sociable than that face? Yeah? He's the most sociable. Out and about, that would be Babalu. He is outside of the building, over at somebody else's place or at a fair or something. He's just trying to meet everybody.
That's sweet. And Jocelyn Trigger writes, I got Cinnamon in the harnesses. She won't let me take it off. So do you have any suggestions?
I'm thinking about it. Well, there's the old toweling trick if you really have to, where you can get the towel over their head. But the thing is, you've got to get it over their head, too. So you have to put the towel on them and move the towel around so that you can reach to pull the harness over the head. And that's going to be the hardest part. But I think you're probably going to have to get her into a towel. That's what I would do in that situation. Yeah, sometimes the harnesses can be a little tricky. You have to get them tight enough where you can get your finger in there so that they can't take them off. But you have to be sure you get them on right. I had Snowball, who's up there sleeping. I had his harness on wrong at the. It was not seated properly. It wasn't tight enough, so he was able to get his foot around in there, and then he was freaking out, and I had to. The hardest part to get his foot back in there where it belonged was to keep the blood that was on my hand from getting all over him, which I managed to do because he was so scared he was biting. And of course, when I finally got it all straightened out, then he's giving me that whole sad look and trying to nuzzle. I said, "It's all right. I understand." Those are great harnesses, though, but you do have to practice getting them on right. And check them occasionally. Taking them off in that situation, the only thing I can think of is covering that head and then working your fingers around underneath. Even then, you're probably going to need a bandage or two. But you don't want to die without any scars, right?
We have another question by Jam and Jamie. What's the best way to socialize an umbrella cockatoo?
It kind of depends on how social they already are. Um, are we talking just in general, or did you have a particular cockatoo in mind?
Oh, you mean she's writing. Should I take her to people or have more people come to her?
In most cases, it's better if you take them somewhere. So you're taking them out of their territory, so they'll be less defensive. If the bird isn't mated to you, which means it hasn't decided that you're its mate. There's less likelihood that they're going to attack in your home. But if they are mated to you, taking them out, and letting them experience people outside their home gets them away from their territory. The good example on that is Bob. You wouldn't want to put your fingers in his cage here.
It looks
You
like
wouldn't,
she's not social so far.
not social at all, not coming out of the cage, or
Oh, I think she's probably social with Jamie, but not with other people, I guess.
I wonder what kind of reaction. That can be because the bird's mated to you. If the bird gets mated to you and sees you as something to protect, then it will shun other people. So if that's the case, what you want to do is the whole treat thing. You want to lay the tray out with treats if you don't know what the treat they like the most. They like sunflower seeds or cashews or almonds. Cashews and almonds you want to give them just a little bit of, but you got to find out whatever treat is they like best, and then you have to have other people give them treats, and you when they're around, not you. So that way they will start to associate other people with positive reinforcement. If it's somebody that's in your environment all the time, a relative, someone who's in your home, then what you want to do is have them come by and give a treat that you don't give. Okay, their favorite treat gets given to them by that person every day, 2 or 3 times during the day. That's called come bearing gifts. And the other side is sitting in front of the cage, have them sit in front of the cage and get the bird to look at them for a second and then give them a treat, and eventually stretch that out over time, over the next couple of weeks, until the bird will sit for 30 seconds to get the treat. And that will definitely socialize them to another person. And then you just start spreading that around. You generalize it so that when somebody comes over or you're out, you just have treats that you can hand people that they can give the bird. That bird, this bird here. That's the general way you do socialization when you have a bird that isn't well socialized. KK's fine with other people, with one exception. Um, but he's not that good with birds, so I've been socializing him with birds. So he's doing a lot better with Pippa and Bob and that kind of thing. But Bob doesn't, and Bob's okay with him if he's out in the aviary. But yeah, that's what I would do: come bearing gifts and calm attention. Um, if it's somebody who's in your home, otherwise just take a little, wear a side pouch or something with treats and hand them to people, and have them hand those treats to your bird. So
We have another clarifying comment from German Jamie. She says, "Yes, I'm trying to get her warmed up to my fiance."
Yeah, you see,
okay,
there isn't room for 3 people in the relationship.
yeah, that's why you got the dead silence from me, because I'm thinking, if you are mate bonded, and most people don't know if they're mate bonded to their birds, but if you're mate bonded, then it's a fiance. You're going to do the calm attention and the come bearing gifts. He's going to give those treats. Um, but if a bird is bonded to you and you bring a third element in, you're going to have to work a little bit because you're breaking an agreement that is quite strong in their world. And when you're bonded to them, you're bonded to them. You don't go off with another bird, or another human. So, but you can work with that. I know someone who just recently put someone in their life, and now that person is, they're uh, that human's mate, the human to human bond. Uh, he's able to play with the bird too now. So the bird has finally accepted him. So you can do it. It's just a little harder when you've got a human mate bond and then a bird mate bond. So work with it, and then you can always come back and ask more questions when you get responses, and we'll talk about it. Cecil, that's my arm. That's probably, other than biting, that's the number one issue is the mate bond. And sometimes a bird will become like Pippa. She got bonded to me the moment she saw me. She's like, "Oh, that's the guy." So it isn't always a matter of what you've
Romantic.
done. It's, huh?
How romantic.
Yeah. Um,
So
and
Pippa is
she,
your sixth wife, is she?
I don't know. I'm polyamorous, so. And sometimes there's nothing you can do about them bonding to you, but you can deal with the issue. It's not like you have to give up. It's just that you have to work. You have to work with it. You have to allow that bond. You can't try to break it. That doesn't work. Um, so you have to get them to allow the third person in, and sometimes it can be take a while, but they'll usually allow that third person in. But don't expect perfection, as in if like in domestic violence or something. I stop that. No, you're not gonna bite me while you're doing. He's getting close to get. He's so busy with the toy, he's gonna nip me. Watch it, watch it. If I guess the best example I can give you there is when my friend came over, big tall plumber. And he was telling me about the turkeys he'd seen the other day, and he made the motion and tapped my arm like the turkey had done to him, and came over and whacked him with a wing. And I was holding Bob, and if I hadn't been holding Bob, there's a good chance Bob would have at least scarred his face because he was aiming for the eyes. So that bird will protect you. Or like the guy that had two macaws up in Los Angeles, and he had somebody break into his house, and they were trying to rob him, and one of the robbers had to go to the emergency room
He
because
was
the macaw.
enucleated, I think is the word.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Yeah, but it doesn't generally get that well. In that situation, I would expect a bird to protect you that way. Cecil would. I know KK would. Sugar, I have no doubt Sugar would. You think, oh, that docile, yeah, you haven't seen her when she's telling people stay away from my mate.
She's so pink and fluffy, she couldn't possibly do anything.
Yep. She
Don't
makes it.
mess with sugar.
We don't mess with the sugar bird, do we?
Mm-mm.
I know in the manual for parrot behavior by Lucier, there's a section on that whole issue of mate bonding and how to deal with a bird that is mate bonded to a human. It's in there. They pretty much cover every aspect. It's not written for the layman, though. I mean, you have to put on your thinking cap when you read it. Or if you're really creative, you can take a picture of a page and ask that you can't understand and ask ChatGPT to dumb it down to high school level or something so you can understand it. That works, believe it or not. There are times
I
when
have to
I've done
say, the
it.
Lucia manual is very clear.
It is. Oh, it's
It's very
excellent. Yeah,
lucid.
it is. But sometimes the language gets more complicated. I was listening to a podcast today, and they were talking about the literacy rate in the United States, and 54% of the people in the United States, according to the recent research, have sixth grade reading abilities or less.
Wow.
50, that's the latest research, 54%. It's going
How
down
old are
every
sixth
year.
graders? Are they 10?
That's almost like a time question for me. A first grader would be 6.
So 12?
Yeah.
Well, that's younger than most people develop the ability to abstractly reason.
Well, keep in mind, that's the top level of the 54%. There are people below that, including those who can't read at all. So you go mid-range there instead of 12, you look at 6, and that's probably about average for that 54% group. But I didn't see the figures myself, so I'm just guessing there. But I know some people feel challenged when they try to read that book, but I think it's pretty clear. But again, just take a picture of it and upload it to ChatGPT at the page and say, explain this to me. I've done it on some really highly technical stuff. I certainly would do it if I was looking at something like quantum mechanics or something. I'm gonna pass that on and get that reduced so I can understand it.
Okay,
So,
so we got some updates. We have Merc who joined us. So hello, Merc. We also have a question from Babalu Bob, who's asking for a friend. But before we ask that question, we've got a $20 donation from Jam and Jamie. So thank you so much for your donation.
Oh,
thank
thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much.
And she
You're
says
so
thank you for the advice.
you are so generous. Thank you. All right, thank you. Yeah, if I'll gladly work with you on this issue because it's not an easy one, and the odds are the bird is bonded to you, so through no fault of your own, probably. But especially if they've been in a situation before where they didn't feel cared for, like KK, it didn't take long for him to latch onto me, and I mean in more ways than one. He'll get a hold of my finger, and I can't, it's hard to pry him off. But he's been through a lot, and with his last caretaker disappearing because he had to go into care unit and not coming back because he died, right? So KK he had a real need to bond with someone, so it didn't take long, a day or two, and maybe even before then, because he was a terror in here for the first couple of weeks, just running after, especially Mander, but just chasing other birds and trying to keep them away from me. Typical bonded behavior. But if you'll notice, he's down there playing with Cecil now. So he has learned to widen his horizons, and they all can. Umbrellas are special. They're really caring. And they get bonded to you, they will give up their life before they let you get hurt. So you won't
But it
find
looks
too
like
many.
the cockatoo is all alive with Jamie. The cockatoo is now 10.
The cockatoo is 10 years old?
Yeah. Or she will be 10 years this year.
Hmm.
So I guess the fiance is newer than the cockatoo then in that case.
Yeah. And yeah, you just have to blend them in. But if you got any issues or any problems, talk to me because I'll gladly help you with it. It's not easy when you have a bird that's bonded to bring somebody else in. Um, I have known people who specifically would keep their birds away from their, they get a new relationship and they keep their birds away from them. That's probably not the best maneuver to make. Um, I even know one person who kept her bird away from other people because she didn't want that bird to start liking them more than her. Yeah,
Oh no.
Mhm.
yeah,
That's creepy.
it happens. Well, you get a pretty hi, sweetheart. You get a strong relationship like this one right here. She's quite protective of me.
Oh, you're a cutie,
Yeah.
Pippa. Mm.
She'd probably she'd probably be your worst enemy if you came and tried to somebody came in here and tried to beat me up or something. She'd rip their eyes out.
What about just hug you?
Yeah, you want to be careful with that. You got to watch the reaction of the bird. You got to tell them it's okay and pet them. When the hugging thing is, it's not quite like what they do in the wild where they preen each other's crests. So
Mm.
you start touching anywhere else, it's considered a no-no. So yeah, you gotta be slow about that,
Mm.
especially with this one,
Oh, Pippa.
the Peppa. Oh,
Okay.
she's
Yeah. So there was a question that Babalu wanted to ask on behalf of a friend. So that question is, I have a teenage Triton cockatoo who wants to bleach his crest. Help.
keep them away from those caustic chemicals. No peroxide, no bleach.
Really, no nothing except water.
Yeah. And if they did manage to change the color of their crest, that warning signal wouldn't be there. You guys, come on, calm down. No, get out of there. Stop it. No, get out. Let go. Get out of there. Go on, get.
So Pippa doesn't like the idea of changing crest colour, obviously. She's like, ah.
Okay, come on, baby boy. Come on back. I had to separate
That's
the
the thing,
two
they
there.
already have the most beautiful color.
They don't
Completely
need to change
natural.
anything. Also, that's KK who's down there. Oh, yeah.
I
Oh,
didn't even
KK.
care which one. I had to knock one of them out of there.
Yeah.
Whichever one went first. It's just, come here. Come on. Come on. You're okay. You're okay. Yes, I
Well,
know. You
that's the good
you
thing about
stop
birds.
being
You can
silly.
just pick them up and throw them.
Well, Pippa knows about that. She's been tossed a few times.
So we've got Thunderbing who joined us. So hello, Thunderbing. Nice to see you.
Hello.
Hello, Sunday. Yeah, if there's one issue that's caused more problems is that mate bond. It's not understood. One of the questions I wrote a piece about it once. I think I called it "Out of the Blue," but there is no such thing as out of the blue. Every behavior has a function. So, um, if you're seeing a particular behavior, there's a reason for it. And if you have a bird that's standoffish about other people, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be mate territoriality. So you're mated to the bird, but it can just be that they're not acclimated to people. They've only been around you for all that time, and other people haven't introduced themselves. So it might just be that too. And you have to desensitize them to other people. And the two methods I talked about, work. I mean, when Pepe, when Marley, the double yellowhead, was with us. It's a bird that no man can touch, right? When I put my hand, I fed him inside the cage. The cage I had for him, the bowls were inside, and I would actually put my hand in his cage to give him food and water. But within 2 weeks, he was out in the aviary, and the only techniques I used were the two I mentioned. So, and after that, he was fine with guys. He didn't have any more problems. He'd been like that for years. He wouldn't let any guys near him.
Yeah, he just needed to be shown the right way.
Yep. And I learned that from Dr. Zelig, so it's not like it's my technique. It's an ABA technique that she teaches, her own specific version of the ABA techniques. Desensitization techniques. Oh, yeah. Well, you don't eat the scabs off my arm because then they bleed. That's what happens. Right, Cecil? Yeah, this is something you would not have seen a year ago, right here. Pippa, how you doing?
Pippa being a good girl.
So there's a couple more questions and comments. So there's one from Merck who says, very interesting videos on this channel. I found you looking for info on cloacal prolapse since I had a female parrot with egg binding. So those are actually two different issues. So Dawn, do you want to talk about that for a bit?
Yeah, egg binding is not the number one cause for prolapse. In fact, statistically, males prolapse more than females. We think it's lack of exercise because the only real exercise they get is by flying. And that's been tested by paleoanthropologists who are trying to discover how birds learned to fly when when they didn't have all the feathers that they do now. Egg binding, that's a tough one. Your avian vet's got to work with you on that one. If you can get your avian vet to show you how, so you can know what it feels like when the egg is forming. Remembering the shell doesn't form until the last part of that process, usually within 48 hours of delivering the egg. So you're just looking for a bulge there. You're not looking for a shell because you aren't going to find it when it's growing. And then you have to make sure their diet's right. Again, check with your avian vet what the best diet is for a bird that's egg binding. I probably need to do a whole video on egg binding, but it is a problem with birds in captivity, and it's mostly related to exercise and diet. So unless you're going to put them in a harness and take them outside, or you've got a long stretch you can fly them in your house, they aren't going to be getting that flight, and without flight, they're not getting exercise. It's like any muscle. If you have someone who's had like a broken leg and they've been in the hospital while it's healing, and then when they go to walk, they don't walk very well because the muscles are atrophied. That's the kind of thing that can cause the egg binding, is a lack of the tone in the muscles. And then the prolapse is usually due to lack of tone there too. Bob has lack of tone in his cloaca, so he gets a mash that's pretty wet. That might help too. But again, you need to check with your avian vet. But he's on a mash where there's quite a bit of moisture in it, and it has Roundup pellets in there too, so there's plenty of nutrition, and vegetables and fruit and that kind of thing. But if you can get more moisture in there, then there's not going to be the stress on the colon, so things will pass through. If it gets too dry in there, then they start using their stomach muscles, and when they use their stomach muscles to press, That's where you hear that grunting. And when they start grunting like that, if it goes too long, then they lose the ability, the motion in their colon. It's called peristaltic motion. They lose that, and once they lose that, then they're going to start pushing their organs out. That's where the prolapse comes from. As best as we know, we will never know the with any 100% certainty because we're not going to have 1,000-bird study where every bird is checked every day to see if they're what the condition of their cloaca is. It's not going to happen. So, and you never know which bird is going to prolapse. This one up here was heading towards the prolapse, but I think it was the mash, which is basically something that I figured out with Dr. Jenkins, to make sure they get enough moisture. Make sure they have water available, clean water all the time. Best to use get them to drink from a Lixit bottle, but they seem to drink better when their heads are up. You ever seen them? They drink from a bowl, lift their head up. Drink from a bowl, lift their head up. It's just easier if they drink from a bottle and it's cleaner water. They got to have that water in their system though. We use the word hydrated. I think that's a loaded word, but you want to make sure that they get enough water and they're drinking. And then if you can give them some kind of something with moisture in it to eat, a birdie biscuit that's moistened with a lot of moisture to it, keep the moisture high.
The next question was from Sanderbing. The question is, which one of the flock seems to show the most jealous tendencies?
Babalu.
Bob?
Yeah. Even in the aviary, you'll notice he mostly stays around me.
Yep.
Yep. He's protecting his mate. Well, he was abandoned, basically rehomed 8 times in the first 11 years of his life, and this is according to an animal hospital, so it's probably true. They have records, but that abandonment really hit him, and I haven't abandoned him, and darn if he's going to let me do it either. So.
Yeah, Babalu is a cutie, but he has bonding trauma, so no. He's really jealous about everything. Even the phone people are not his best friends.
No. Next would probably be Cause and Pippa. At least in showing it, although I wouldn't mess with Sugar. Before these guys even react, if somebody comes to the front door, she's already fluffing her feathers out and going, ah, like that. I mean, she makes these dinosaur sounds. So she is a dinosaur, so she makes these sounds, and everybody's, oh, that's cute. Yeah, it's really cute. It's kind of like, when you hear a lion roar, that's cute too, huh? She gets along with people if I bring them over, introduce them, and that kind of thing, and. But she's protective. The most protective is Bob, though.
Let's ask the other way around, who's the most independent one?
Lucy.
The goose.
She's definitely the most independent.
Sweetie pie.
She defends her territory, but she's probably the last one that's going to, I could be wrong, but she's probably the last one that's going to come over and attack someone for coming after me. I don't think she's mate bonded with me. And believe me, I don't work at getting them to mate bond with me. It's usually the ones that are in the worst condition that end up mate bonded to me, or the ones that just choose it, like Pippa. The Pippa girl. Yeah, the Pippa. But, she's mate bonded to me because it took me all that time, years, to get her figured out and back to health. And Bob, it's because he was abandoned so many times.
Hmm.
Cecil's not mate bonded to me, but he's pretty protective, just in general, because I helped him out of a bad situation. You know, they've got good memories. KK's, I wouldn't mess with KK either. I mean, you wouldn't want to mess with me with KK around, but he's nowhere as protective as Pippa or Bob. But give him time, because I think he's already made it to me. So you get busy sometimes. I see you're waking up over there, Jasmine. You get busy sometimes, and I forgot to eat this morning, so I drank my tea but didn't eat any food. Now, why am I shaking? Oh, caffeine with no food. I just barely managed to down some protein powder and a banana before I got in here. Sometimes you just have too much to do, don't you, little girl? Hmm? Takes away a while, these guys. I got their base mash I have to get ready, and I have to add corn and peas to that. You know, so I have to cook the corn and peas, add it to that, and then they have to get their birdie bread, and they have to get their edamame, and they have to have their little slice of peach. And that's after I get their dry food. And I don't just dig into a bucket. I mix their food. I give them a piece of banana chip. They get an almond. They get a cashew. They get a couple of pistachios. And then they get Missouri pellets and Supreme pellets and a little piece of papaya. Now, the hard part is I have to buy the papaya from a place that doesn't put sodium metabisulfate on everything. Most of the dried food or dried fruit that you can buy, you can't give it to parrots because it has this nasty stuff on it they use to preserve it. So I have to buy that from one source that doesn't do that, and then when you open the bag, you have to refrigerate it and put a dry bag in there, some kind of silica gel, and then an oxygen reducer too. So, right, big boy.
You get a lot of praise in the chat. Thunderbing says you are their private chef, and Mark says they are so well fed.
Yeah, thank you. Well, the thing is, you end up whatever you give them, you end up throwing 90% away. But the point is, one day you'll see that they ate a pistachio and they ate a little bit of banana. They had birdie bread. I left that out. I put birdie bread in there too, but it goes in their dry bowl. But one day they'll eat the birdie bread. One day they won't. They'll eat the edamame. One day they won't. I mean, they eat something else in there. So they get a variety of food. Because how would you feel if somebody handed you the same mash every day?
And we have another chatter joining us. It's Sabine G. And the question is, I heard that cockatoos smell good. Is that true?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they have a natural body odor that, unlike us, they don't have the musk scent to their bodies. Unless you're talking, some parrots, have a strong odor because of the urophageal gland. They have a gland right about here, okay, on the back of the tail area. These guys have it too, but there's not much oil there. On some of the other parrots, there's a lot of this oil with a heavy scent, but they don't. So they just smell like, I don't know, smell like a cockatoo. It's kind of, they could probably market that scent on them, some French perfume company or something could market the scent.
Mm.
But keep in mind, there's some cockatoo dust with that scent that's going in your lungs. So I had some people over something else, and they obviously didn't know about parrots. And I didn't even dawn on me. They probably thought the place looked weird with all these fans hooked up around the place. I didn't mention that those were to catch the dust they were breathing from the air, but it looks odd to somebody who doesn't understand about cockatoo dust. Why does he have all these fans with these filters taped on here? Is he some kind of nut?
And what's all this white powder everywhere?
Yeah, all that white powder. It looks like a political gathering. Everywhere you go, though, you wipe your fingers from this dust, and you can't get rid of it. There's something too. If you have cockatoos, and you notice if you have any kind of a picture on the wall that's black, you might just put something up on the wall that's black, so that, and then if it starts to turn white, that means you better get more moisture in the air because the cockatoo dust is rising up and you're breathing it. So this one has a picture of Steve Jobs, which has a black background. And if I don't have that humidifier running, or if it runs out of water, it'll start to gather dust on it. That means you're breathing a lot of dust. Right, Pippa?
Pip, 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 pip. We have another question by Katniss, who just joined. So welcome, Katniss. And the question is, hi, can I get my stubborn umbrella cockatoo to eat veggies? He is 2 and I have had him since he was 6 months old. All he wants to eat is my food and nuts and pasta. Sounds like Sugar before she came to you.
Yeah, well, you want to get them over to pellets, and that's not going to be easy. So that's a complicated one to answer. I've had to do it myself, so I know. This one over here was cereal, sugared cereal, frosted flakes, that kind of thing is what they were feeding themselves. And they were good people, they just didn't know any better. I hear you. Oh, you're awake. I know. What a beautiful song, Jasmine. What a beautiful song. So what I would do is, you can probably buy some of these birdie bread mixes. I don't know. You can go to Amazon and get some. I hear you. Oh, you're just she's in a good mood now. Are you in a good mood?
The most valuable information presented to you by Jasmine.
Exactly. Jasmine and the jazz bird song. So what you want to do is take something that's good for them and then sprinkle the food they like on top of it. Sometimes if you might try peanut butter. If they like peanut butter, that's probably better for them than what they're eating. And then take a piece of birdie bread and put the peanut butter on it so that when they start eating the peanut butter, they eventually get to the birdie bread. Or you can take pellets and coat them in something like peanut butter if they'll eat it. Cashew butter, peanut butter, almond butter. Peanut butter is better than the other two I mentioned because it's a good balance of fat and protein. Fat by itself isn't good for them. Protein by itself isn't good for them, but the mix is good. So, yeah, the trick you're going to have is making some things. I make a mash, and on top of the mash, I will take a few sunflower seeds without the shell and put them on there on top of the mash. So if they want the sunflower seed, they have to pick carefully, or they reach in and go ahead and take some of the mash and eventually start eating it. It took a long time for her to fall into that trap. But basically, you're going to have to trick them. You have to think of it. It's like a kid with umbrella cockatoos, especially, or I should say cockatoos in general. If they're used to eating trash food, well, that's like a kid raised on Snickers bars, you know? Not saying Snickers bars are terrible. They're not. They're just, if you eat them occasionally. But if that's your diet and you don't know any better.
So the good thing is the parrot is still pretty young, so. But we have another comment from Katniss who says, I have made chop for him for the time I have had him, and all he does is waste it. He hates pellets. Thank you, I will try the peanut butter and sprinkle the chop on his food.
Yeah, well, with the hating of the pellets is one thing, but put put the stuff he likes to eat out in the morning for an hour and for a night an hour at night, and the rest of the day have nothing but pellets in there. So if he wants a snack, he's got to learn to eat the pellets, and then you can put things in there to drag his attention in, but just cut back on the amount of time that the food that he wants is available. I did that with sugar. So she learned that if she wanted to eat that food, she had to hurry it. Get it in there in that first hour, about an hour, hour and a half. And then I'd take it away and leave pellets. And after a while, she started eating the pellets. And I left the birdie bread in there because I mixed pellets in it. And she got her mash. But as far as her treat stuff, I had to wean her off the cereals without her attacking herself, because she would try to mutilate herself if you didn't give her her food. So it's a balance, but you can try that. Just take it away. Now keep in mind that these birds generally eat in the morning for a few hours. They don't generally eat until the end of the day. Then they eat again in the wild. They eat again at the end of the day. So taking it away and leaving them pellets is not. You're not punishing them. It's not their
And I
normal
think
time to
you
eat.
don't have to care too much when they somehow waste the food or play more with it than eating, because that seems to be a natural parrot behavior.
Yep, it is.
So
And
that
sometimes
has
it.
not necessarily something to do with if they like the food or not, but
Mm-mm.
they play with basically every food.
Yep. And they might be secretly eating some of it and not letting you know either. So they're good at that. They're secret feeders. So they might throw out 90% of it and still eat a couple of them. So just give it time. You know, if you've succeeded in getting your bird to eat well in 2 years, you did a great job. And these birds here all eat pretty well, but they have their days. Some better than others. So. Well, I guess it's that time, folks. So we will see you on the next one on Wednesday. What do you say, huh?
See. Bye,
Beautiful bird.
everyone. Thanks for
Thanks,
coming.
Amy. Thanks, Amy and Eleanor. I should say Babalu and Eleanor for your moderation skills. And don't forget, everybody, we have merchandise out there. You can go to our link tree and you can find our merchandise through that. And we will see you next time. Say bye.
Bye
Say
bye.
bye.
Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
Evidence is evidence. It's public. Everybody can look at the evidence and assess it, and eventually, if there's enough evidence, come to the same conclusion.
The Chloe Sanctuary for Parrots and Cockatoos, a nonprofit charity dedicated to the empowerment of captive parrots and public awareness.